Now, I would like to go to Timothy Meenakshi Datta Ghosh. Ma'am, are you there? Meenakshi, ma'am. Meenakshi, ma'am, are you there?
Yeah, very much here.
Okay, that's why. That's why. So, ladies and gentlemen, after I am very, and now we are going to our in-house because we used to feel proud to call her in-house because she's the vice president of Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development, and several times we told in different occasions she was the former secretary Ministry of Panchayati Raj and the former
Not
secretary special
necessary.
secretary Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So with this, without wasting our time, I will straightway invite Madam Meenakshi Datta Ghosh to
Yeah,
give her thought as chief guest of this program. Over to
okay.
Meenakshi.
Yeah, thank you very much. I without wasting further time because there's so many speakers. I want to begin with talking of gender equality in an area where the gender gap is in favor of the males, of the men. And I want to draw your attention that in 1998, I'm talking of India now. In 1998, the Atal Bihari Vajpayee led National Democratic Alliance piloted the time use survey across 6 Indian states. Now, time use surveys are global indicators, frameworks in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and they have a prominent place in policy discourse. So his government did it for 6 states. The Modi government has conducted and completed the first nationwide time use survey in 2019 by the National Statistical Office. And we finally now have a number to the unpaid, unacknowledged sweat, toil, and tears of our women, which amounts to 7.2 hours a day, and the average Indian male unpaid work does not exceed 2.8 hours. Government is finding these is finding these results useful for investigating the implications and making consequent policy corrections. And hence we come to the gender gap. For too long, women have been ignored, forgotten, with government schemes bypassing either their inclusion or their benefit in any meaningful way. In India, we are making every attempt now to ensure that women can independently access opportunities without depending on their husbands, their fathers, or their brothers, in order to enable them to benefit as equal and independent partners in India's progress. However, at the outset, I wish to state unequivocally, to get our women forward, we need many he's to support the she's. There is no way that women are going to move forward without the men wanting them to do so. And that is something that we have to keep in mind up front. We want a woman led growth in India or woman led progress, which is instigated by men, which is motivated by men, and which is then whose implementation is also ensured by men. This is something I want to state up front. I now come to current events around the globe which have a bearing on the Sustainable Development Goal number 5. First, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, 2023, on January 17th, the Gender Parity for Economic Recovery panel agreed that while there have been significant setbacks the world over in gender parity, but viewed any which way, mainstreaming Sustainable Goal number 5 on gender equality is the just thing to do, the fair thing to do, and the right thing to do. It makes economic sense, it makes business sense to enhance access for women to credit, to education, and to employment in order to unlock this locked value. Moving forward, fiscal measures and monetary measures need to be mindful of gender. In fact, they need to place gender up front. The TV channel CNBC has started the Future Forward initiative to address this gender conundrum. I have another interesting bit of information and actually news dated January 2023, which I must share with you. The World Economic Forum ranked India at 135 out of 146 countries in the global gender gap for 2022. India's rank has been low in the global gender gap index for the past several years. India, however, has time and again rejected this report, saying that this index, the Global Gender Gap Index, fails to give a complete and accurate picture on India because it omits to include women elected to local bodies. The World Economic Forum gender gap is based on 4 parameters. 1, economic participation and opportunity. 2, educational attainment. 3, health and survival. And 4, political empowerment. Under political empowerment, the World Economic Forum has so far considered only union ministers and not even ministers of state and MLAs. So that is the state of play. In January 2023, as a result of strenuous efforts made by government and non-government sources, the World Economic Forum at Davos, and I'm quoting Minister Smriti Irani from India, has finally recognized the need to enumerate women's participation in local government bodies in its gender gap report. This is a huge victory for 1.4 million grassroots women locally elected at panchayat levels in India. Additionally, World Economic Forum in January 2023 has also expressed its willingness to study India's gender budget system, which is an acknowledgement of India's efforts to promote women-led development. The forum will work with India to strengthen collaboration around the agenda of women and will work together in the area of improving global data collection and cross-country benchmarking efforts to assess in a globally comparable way participation of women in local political decision-making. As a result of all, I have to mention here that the G20 Ministerial Conference on Women's Empowerment 2022 had as its theme, post-pandemic, recover together, recover stronger, to close the gender gap. So this is to demonstrate to you that wherever you go on the domestic scene and the international scene, you cannot escape the gender conundrum. And at home in India, gender-based governance is ensuring that women could well become equal partners in India's growth story. I now turn to current policy and program. The steps being taken to bridge the gender gap and tilt the ease of living in favor of women. 1, I'd like to begin this portion of my address by recognizing, acknowledging, and applauding the over 6 million Indian female frontline workers, health workers, who have protected our communities during the pandemic, and Indian female scientists who have immensely contributed to the development of the vaccine and test kits in India. 2, the statistical architecture of the nation as we knew it, and many of us have been very much a part of government for over 40 years, is being rebuilt, is being re-engineered to make women more visible. A well-known adage goes, only that which is measured can be improved. So government is viewing quantification as a step towards resolution and rectification. The government is generating and amassing gender disaggregated data through either implementation related statistics or through surveys. This data is then being used to inform and to reform schemes. So it is now, the onus is now on individuals, on groups in academia, on research and evaluation consultancies, on multilateral organizations to conduct audits, to conduct third party assessments of such data to further mainstream gender in public policy. 3. Now, India is firmly committed to a multi-pronged strategy and approach to empower women educationally, socially, economically, politically. Now, this is being handled across the board at in all sectors, at policy levels and at programs levels. India is looking at women's agency as well as women's leadership to play a key role in achieving India's dream of Atma Nirbhar Bharat, which is a self-reliant India, not only for our own sakes, but also in the interest of the global community in the post-COVID world. There are many ways in which these things are coming about. For example, India has introduced for the first time a gender inclusion fund under the new education policy. In the new labor codes for India, there are provisions to promote female employment. Significantly, there are also provisions to encourage female participation in previously unconventional sectors like mining and like defense. Women have been mandatorily recognized as head of the household for issue of ration cards under the National Food Security Act 2013. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana accords benefits of home ownerships and LPG gas connections, respectively, to women beneficiaries. Such interventions have unequivocally fortified women's access to economic resources. It has elevated, inter alia, their status, social stature within the household, within the community, and within the village. By placing assets such as houses and LPG gas connections in the hands of women, it is challenging the lopsided, unequal status quo on the ground in every household. It is doing this through policy, through program, and also bridging the gender deficit in official data sets. For example, out of the 25 million houses that have been built under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the flagship affordable housing initiative, women have co-ownership rights to 20 million of those houses. So for every 25 million, typically 20 million of those houses are in the names of women. There is another barometer which this country has been relying on for many years for securing equitable health outcomes, which is known as the National Family Health Survey, which is conducted in a partnership with the USAID. Now, it's a source of crucial information on nutrition, on fertility, on family planning, on reproductive, maternal and child health, as well as on neonatal, child and maternal mortality. Now, during 2015-2016, the sampling strategy of the NFHS underwent a comprehensive and methodological renovation because it sought to statistically account every district in the nation. This proved to be a colossal improvement on the previous National Family Health Survey conducted 10 years prior to that in 2005-2006. This became a nationally representative survey. Subnational and district level data became available. It is facilitating and prioritizing targeted interventions to address healthcare challenges. For the first time in National Family Health Survey 4 and National Family Health Survey 5, we have gender disaggregated cancer prevalence data And we have recorded information on whether women have ever undergone a screening test for cancer of the oral cavity, breast, cervix. Together, NFHS 4 and NFHS 5 provide comprehensive and holistic data on the health of women in India. And this is going to be improving with each successive National Family Health Survey. Now, another major initiative on health has been the, Pradhan Mantri Yojana for, Jan Arogya Yojana. Now, what happened in this Yojana? There was previously an RSBY scheme, which was very similar in providing the insurance. However, that had a mandate that it would only benefit 5 members of the household. It was found that under that pretext, women were being kept out of the insurance. They would be penalized in large families, and males would be given a preference. So therefore now, this new scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, it ensures that there is no cap of 5 beneficiaries per family. It ensures that most of the health benefit packages are women-centric, or they are common to both men and women. Under this scheme, many more women have, for example, availed of oncology services. Under the the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, where they provided the LPG connections, women in rural and backward areas were continuing to cook on traditional cooking fuels such as firewood, cow dung, cakes, and coal. And the indoor pollution disproportionately affected women's health. Under this scheme, 90 million LPG connections had been released till January 31st, 2022, surpassing the initial target of 80 million, which was completed by 2020. An independent study of the World Resources Institute has recorded that as a result of this scheme, close to 500,000 pollution-related deaths were prevented, and indoor pollution deaths have been reduced by 13% in 2019 alone. To encourage entrepreneurship in India, government also launched the Pradhan Mantri Mudra scheme, which provided loans up to INR 1 million for small enterprises. 68% of the beneficiaries of 320 million INR loaned have been women. Similarly, the Jan Dhan Yojana, which ensured financial literacy for women, as well as universal access to women-led bank accounts, provided opportunities so that they could avail of credit, insurance, and pension. And more than half of the 450 million Jan Dhan accounts open belong to women. Now, I'm finishing. We used to have a national sample survey which used to collect 5-yearly data. All that has been done away with, and we now have the periodic labor force survey, which again boasts of gender disaggregated data. So we have population ratio, we have female labor force participation rate, and we have female employment rate. Female feticide has been a major problem in this country. This task has now been entrusted, believe it or not, to the Ministry of Home Affairs under the National Crime Records Bureau, so that female feticide is and penalized wherever it happens. I'm now concluding. In this manner, government programs and policies are continuing to create an environment where women can access equal opportunities, which is rightfully theirs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said, we cannot achieve success if 50% of our population being women is locked at home. The best, however, I believe, is yet to come. India's capacity to deliver technological solutions at the grassroots for the empowerment of women is astounding. Through the Swamitva Yojana, government is using drone technology to ascertain digital land records, which, when they are registered, if they are placed in the name of women, stamp duty is either waived completely or lowered by 50%. Through the PMG Disha, millions of women have now been made digitally literate. Social and economic empowerment is ongoing through the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Rashtriya Mahila Kosh, One Stop Center, Ujjwala, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, and many, many more. My final words are that India is a civilizational state that depends on the shoulders of women, such as Sita of the Ramayana, Draupadi of the Mahabharata, Kannagi from a Tamil epic written in the second century, and so on. They were strong, unconventional, intelligent, and independent women capable of taking independent decisions and exercising that autonomy. It is our dream. We are at India at 75. It is our dream that India at 100 will be where women will be able to reclaim and reconstruct a strong civilizational heritage by leading the state from the front as leaders across all fields. Thank you.
Thank you very much. In fact, I mean, so many aspects, I mean, it's very difficult to cover, because when we are talking about that gender issue, the major four dimension of empowerment, the social, economical, political, and cultural, those things are there. And from very beginning in different planned period, even the non-planned, I mean, a lot of initiative has taken almost each and every component. When we talk about those, earlier it was a status of 30%, and I mean, both as a empowerment concepts had, as well as the relative term of empowerment. So many things are there, but now it become a mandatory. Even we are today we are discussing in our one of the G20 conferences, and there we found that even the higher education, the girls, and they are taking lead in terms of science and technology, in terms of other. So we have touched all the things, and but the time is constant. We can understand even these things can be big. Even we are also planning that if our all the guest speaker and who are listening, if they can also contribute a good paper, we can think for a volume, which I mean, Meenakshi ma'am also eager to edit on that. That can be a good piece of work after that. And ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in the top, that is being recorded, and one YouTube is a live is also there. So if you can have sharing to that link to in your here, you can share this to YouTube and other world. So very nicely, thank you, ma'am, for